welcome to Unity of the Blue Ridge. Thank you for being here with us this morning. What a week we have had. Today we have a treat because I have a couple of people with us who have popped in that you're going to meet in just a moment. But before that, I want to reflect back briefly to Wednesday, the inauguration. And I think many of you, I heard from many of you, I know many were moved to tears, and there's a lot of hope in the atmosphere right now. And I was particularly moved by Amanda Gorman, again, as many of you, the 22-year-old poet laureate. And I wanted to share just a few excerpts from her beautiful poem that she wrote titled The Hill We Climb. And she shared with our nation and people watching around the world on Wednesday when she said, "So we lift our gazes not to what stands between us, but what stands before us. We close the divide because we know how to put our future first. We must first put our differences aside. We lay down our arms so that we can reach out our arms to one another. We seek harm to none and harmony for all. Let the globe, if nothing else, say this is true, that even as we grieved, we grew. Even as we hurt, we hoped. And even as we tired, we tried. That we'll forever be tied together victorious, not because we will never know again defeat, but because we were never again so division." Such powerful words. And I was so inspired to hear that coming from a young person, and I believe you do too. You know, what other time and place can we really begin to be a living embodiment of love and integrity, if not now and if not here? And so it's perfect timing for the series that we're in this winter as we're talking about what it is to really embody the presence of love. I want to ask Reverend Christy Corna. She is our associate minister and has been staying in touch with you through our various means of communication. And I asked her to pop in this morning to say hi and to just share a couple of announcements with you. Rev Christy, it's good to have you here.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. First, I would like to extend an invitation for our Wednesday evening Zoom discussion on the 10 keys that Rev Darlene is offering us each week during this 10-week series. It's at 7 p.m. Wednesday evenings on Zoom. Just go to our website and you can register for that. And we're having such wonderful, profound, deep discussions regarding these keys of love. And then also I wanted to let you know that the first Sunday in February, we are going to have a Zoom room, a Zoom chat room, directly following the Sunday service live stream. And it's an opportunity for folks to jump right into Zoom right after the service and have a wonderful discussion and connect. And we will do breakout rooms, and everybody will have an opportunity to get to know new folks. And it's just another way of us to stay connected. And again, if we can be of prayer support, please call the church office, and we would love to pray with you. Thank you.
Thank you for being here, Reverend Christy. And then Reverend Barbara Ann. Reverend Barbara Ann is part of our youth team. There's actually two right now, Reverend Gabby, and we actually have a little recording from her you're going to hear from in just a second. But it happened to be Reverend Barbara Ann's birthday this week. I didn't know it when I asked her to stop by, but I asked if she wanted to offer a shout out to our youth and our parents, and if she would provide the opening prayer today. Reverend Barbara Ann.
Thank you, Reverend Darlene. What an absolute privilege it is to be here this morning and to speak these words of profound truth for the youth and family of everyone here at Unity of the Blue Ridge. The divine idea of family is God's idea of itself to recognize unconditional love. Thus, unconditional love is the foundation for every family experience here at Unity of the Blue Ridge and everywhere. It is this unconditional love that brings souls together. No matter the age, no matter the gender, whether the souls live in the same structure or not, the idea of family is sacred, it is holy, and it is embraced by the divine itself. And even in the midst of family circumstances, where there is that button pushing, where there are experiences, the human experiences, the day-to-day living that may feel uncomfortable, We know that it is the comfort of the divine that embraces every experience, that fulfills the divine idea of wisdom, compassion, understanding, patience, and that feeling that all is well no matter what. Thus, every parent and every guardian knows each day is sacred unto itself, that whatever is done each day lays the foundation for the souls of the youth to move forward in their soul path. There is never a right or wrong. There just is that divine expression of good in every choice. So as every family, every evening goes back into slumber, there is that knowingness that this day was perfect, that this day was the very best given in every circumstance, and that as we go forward as a community, as a nation, and even in that small family unit, there is God's presence reminding us that every relationship is holy, every relationship is sacred, and no matter what it looks like, it is good. So thank you, God, for this unity of the Blue Ridge that supports this idea. Thank you, God, for family, and thank you, God, for that unconditional love that reverberates throughout everyone this moment. I release this now in love and light and in gratitude, knowing it is done, and so it is. Amen.
And so it is. That was beautiful. Reverend Barbara Ann, we also had a little hidden agenda in having you come here today. She looks very surprised. You know, we have been live streaming now for, it'll be close to a year. And every single week, except one, they took the week off after Christmas, but every single week, you have been volunteering to help Reverend Gabby, and you have been putting together a Sunday school lesson. And I happen to know that you often buy the supplies, just like so many teachers in our world. You buy the supplies, you do whatever is needed, you do that yourself as a volunteer. And so we wanted to acknowledge you, we wanted to say thank you, and we have a card that for you that we'll get that card to you, and we just wanted to express our love to you, Barbara Ann. So on behalf of our Unity community, of our children around the globe, really, that have started tuning in and watching our youth lessons, will you join me in thanking Reverend Barbara Ann? So thank you both for being here today. Thank you. And again, I want to thank you for joining us. I'm excited about week 3 in this series that we're talking about this winter, a series where I'm drawing from many different spiritual traditions and loosely from the book by Paul Ferrini, The 10 Laws of Love. And we're looking at 10 different principles that if we really learn to live into those principles, that's how we live and become the embodiment of love. And so I want to thank her again for that beautiful prayer. And in order to get us started, Reverend Gabby is going to acknowledge Reverend Barbara Ann and say hello in a short video. And then we're going to go back in time to Eddie Watkins Jr. on a beautiful Sunday when he joined us singing his very own song, God is the Answer.
Hi, everyone. I'm Reverend Gabby, our Youth and Family Ministry Director. And for the last almost year, Reverend Barbara Ann and I have been doing Sunday school lessons on video each week. And I just wanted to take a moment to thank Reverend Barbara Ann for dedicating so much time and so much energy and giving so much of her heart to our children. Thank you, Reverend Barbara Ann. We love you.
Here we all are, gathered together in this place. Why are we here? What is our purpose? Spirit, reveal. How do we know what's true and what's real? We may not know where lif's road will lead, but it doesn't matter long as we believe that God is the maybe what's going on in this world today. Oh, where do we fit? And what can we do to make a difference? What can we say? Where do we go? This way or that way? But if we all pray and truly believe, and don't you know we got to love one another so we can let the world see that God is the answer. God is the answer. God is the answer to whatever the question may be. To whatever the question may be.
God is the answer. I love that song by Eddie Watkins Jr. And you know, it is the truth. God is the answer. God is the answer. For whatever the question may be. Thank you again, Eddie. And thank you, Richard. I want to thank you for being here every week. And to Acela and Tia in the back on video and sound. And again to Reverend Barbara Ann and Reverend Christy. And we want to thank you. I hope you don't underestimate your importance and the power when people come together, when 2 or 3 or more are gathered around an idea, an understanding, a spiritual practice, that when we come together from near and far, it's very powerful. And so I want to thank you for that. I could not have imagined some time back when I selected this book and this 10-week series exactly what we'd be going through, but it just seems so timely. We're in the 3rd week of a 10-week series based on the presence of love. And 10 principles that as we work with these principles, they help us to know ourselves as an embodiment of love right here and right now. Again, we're in the 3rd week. In the 1st week, we talked about oneness. Last week, we talked about equality. And today, we're going to talk about self-reflection. Now, if you think about those 3 things, in light of the response Jesus gave when he was asked, among all the hundreds of spiritual laws, religious laws they had, how could you distill it down? What is the highest spiritual law? What is the essence of all of those? And he said, it is this, to love the Lord your God and to love your neighbor as you love yourself. Well, the principle of oneness opens us to the love of God, of the universe, of all that is. The principle of equality opens us to love one another, to love our neighbor. And those two hinge on our ability to love ourselves. And that's where we are today. Self-reflection and turning our awareness inward in a way that is very present and available and compassionate, to turn that awareness inward so that we can love self and know love, and from that love be able to give love. There is a true and inseparable connection between what we call the love of God, the love of others, and the love of self, because love is love. And we are all equal manifestations of the one. And so as we really begin to understand love, we realize that, as we grow in consciousness and as we really become awake human beings, that being awake is not so much marked by any grand gesture or any outward renunciation, any particular spiritual path, that being awake and conscious, it's really by the quality of love we embody and express. It's by extending loving attention more than any one grand gesture. Would you not prefer to have a loving presence, loving attention on a regular basis? And so to be able to extend loving attention requires three things. It requires love, it requires attention, and it requires you. That your love and your attention is what we're talking about today. And that we cannot direct our love outward. We can't direct love upward, so to speak, unless we are accessing love. And so, whether it is called love of God or love of another or love of self, it is love. It is to express love. It's like that song that says we're looking for love in all the wrong places. That it is an inside job to be accessed from within. And when we're in touch with our true nature, when we know what we're made of, that love not only blesses our life, but it's a blessing for all around us. There's a story from the Buddhist tradition, a story that's told about the Buddha, that says he was just walking along a path and he happened to walk by a passerby. And as he did, as the man passed the Buddha, didn't know who he was, but he felt something. He felt a sense of peace, and he just felt something wonderful radiating from that man he just passed. And so he turned around and ran back and caught up with him and said, "Friend, are you a god or a celestial being?" And the Buddha said, "No." He said, "Are you a magician or a wizard?" And the Buddha said, "No." And he said, "Well, what are you?" And the Buddha said, "Friend, I am awake." That when we are awake to the truth of who we are, when we are awake and self-aware and connected to our roots, our essence, the fullness of who we are, it radiates. Other people can feel it. And so, love, attention, and you are the things that are required. Now, last week, in talking about equality, I laid out and looked at what I called a ladder of equality. You could call it a ladder of love. In that we first said, aim to love others. If you can't love, then seek to be compassionate. If you're just not ready to be compassionate, then seek to understand. And sometimes we're like, I can't even. If you don't even want to understand, then can you be willing? And then the fifth is, if none of those, if you're not ready for any of those, then tend to where it hurts. Now, a couple of people contacted me after Sunday and said, "Is there another baby step?" And I said, well, okay, there's a baby step. Don't bite anybody. But the truth of the matter is, it's don't hurt anybody. The whole point of that, whether it's love, compassion, seeking to understand, being willing, tending to what hurts. What I want us to understand is all of those are acts of love. If we're doing all of these things, then we are tending to the healing rather than passing along the hurt. And so the goal is to do no harm. And that requires tending to where it hurts. That becomes the inside job, because if we're hurting, it becomes challenging to be loving. And sometimes we can veil it. And there's a funny story that kind of demonstrates that, about a couple of women who were at this local fundraiser, and they struck up a conversation. And one of the women was bragging about her husband and his accomplishments, his wealth and his influence, and how much he loved her. And she said, "Yes, for this, we recently had an anniversary, and he bought me a summer cottage." And the other woman said, "Wow, bless your heart." And she said, "Yeah, and the year before that, he bought a yacht named after me." And again, the woman said, "Wow, bless your heart." And she said, "Yeah, even the first year we were married, he took me on this just incredible safari." And she said, well, bless your heart. And then she looked at the woman and said, well, what about you? What did your husband get you for your anniversary? And she said, well, for my first anniversary, my husband sent me to charm school. And she said, what on earth? Why would your husband send you to charm school? And she said, well, so instead of saying things like, who gives a crap, I would smile and say, well, bless your heart. and the truth of the matter is that sometimes it's thinly veiled how we really feel about someone. And sometimes our self-contempt or the pain inside of our own self is just thinly veiled. There's just a little bit over that. And so to develop self-reflection, self-awareness requires us to really know what is going on inside of me. If you imagine, if you were out one day on a beautiful day going for a walk, and you're walking along a stream, and then you happen to see a dog. And as you get closer to the dog just starts to growl and show his teeth. You may say, wow, that's a mean dog. But as you get a little bit closer, you realize that one of the dog's legs are actually trapped. Immediately, something in you shifts because you realize there is suffering. That this dog is not mean, this dog is in pain, and that the behavior is coming from the suffering. Well, you see, you and I are the same way. Many people in this world are compelled by suffering, are compelled by pain, are compelled by feeling trapped, are compelled by an unmet need. And so it's important for us to bring a quality of presence to our inner life so that we ourselves can pay attention and can notice, when am I being compelled by pain or suffering? Where do I feel stuck or trapped or frustrated in my potential and therefore possibly resentful? Where do I have an unmet need that is playing out unconsciously and I'm trying to get something that I think I don't have? You see, bringing awareness and a quality of presence to ourselves is the only way that we can cultivate love and a true sense of belonging and a felt sense of that love to such an extent that we can then have the love that we need toward others. But the fact of our life is, much of our life is on autopilot. I mean, if you seriously ask yourself, do you have a practice for self-reflecting? Do you have some skills and some tools to help you be in touch with what's really going on inside of you? What's really going on? I can remember as a kid sometime if my sister or I would start to act up, my parents would say, now watch yourself. Now, I didn't like it at the time, but that's actually good advice. Do you ever watch yourself in what we're doing? Because it's natural that we'll have our habits and our routines, that our reactions just sort of carry us through life. And part of that, a big part of that, is the way we're wired, so we don't have to constantly stop and think about what I'm doing and how to do it and why to do it. It's almost mechanical. And that's not a bad thing unless we forget and stop paying attention to the habits, and then that our habits and our routines and our impulses, that we're no longer controlling them, but they're controlling us. What quality of presence am I bringing to my inner life? How am I reacting? Am I being compelled by some unmet need or some pain? What quality of presence am I bringing to my inner life? It takes my love, my attention, myself. It takes your love, your attention, and yourself to be that foundation for loving all others, for experiencing love. When we think about the quality of presence that we bring to our inner life, learning to spend time in the quiet, you begin, it's sort of like a flashlight. So often if you have a flashlight, You're simply, whatever the light is focused on, that's what you're focused on. That's what has your attention. And so often in life, that's the way we are, that whatever is in front of us, that's what has our attention. But do you ever stop and say, maybe I need to change the batteries in this flashlight. Maybe I need a flashlight that shines more powerfully. Maybe I need to be able to broaden the place that I can see. Maybe my light's flickering. You see, we're so often just focused on what is before us, but do we turn within and say, what is the quality of my perception? Do I need to widen my perception? Is it flickering in and out as to what I see or what I take in? To bring a quality of presence to our inner life. I read a story some time back from Tara Brach, who wrote the book Radical Acceptance. She shares this story and said that a woman that she knew was sitting with her older mother, and the mother was in the end stages of life. She was actually in hospice care, and she had been in a coma for several days. And she was sitting there knowing that it was probably the final hours for her mother. She was sitting at the bedside of her mom as her mom was in the coma. And she said all of a sudden, her mother opened her eyes and was just as lucid as could be. And she looked right at her daughter and said, all my life, I thought something was wrong with me. And she said it in a way that she was relieved. And then she closed her eyes, fell back into the coma, and very shortly after, she took her last breath. And that woman said that as it turned out, that was a dying gift that her mother gave to her, because she said it was true that she had seen her mother, and her mother was a woman that had not fully lived, that she had kept herself small, she had kept herself back, partially closed off and guarded, and probably unconsciously doing so. And this woman saw it as a wake-up call for her life, and it gave her a resolve, and so that she committed that I will pay attention to my life, that I will live fully now, that if I am going to be an embodiment of my purpose, if I am going to be on purpose, if I'm going to love myself, if I'm going to live that love, if not now, when? And if not here, where? And so it gave her an incredible resolve, and that's when she discovered meditation and began to take time every day to bring a compassionate quality of presence, to turn it within, to begin to pay attention to what was going on within her. Was there any hurt that she needed to tend? Was there any belief? I mean, consider this. Proverbs 4:7 says, whatsoever you acquire insight, inner vision, insight. Eckhart Tolle said, awareness is the greatest agent for change. That inner self-awareness is the gateway for higher self-awareness. And so to stop and to spend some time tending to ourselves, sharpen your own saw, as Stephen Covey would say, to make sure that we're not out hurting people, but we're in a place to be a presence of healing, however that may show up, from love to don't bite anybody, don't harm anybody, but we're doing our best to be a healing presence. And we're holding ourselves accountable for the things that we do, the things that we post, the thoughts that we allow ourselves to entertain. Are they life-affirming? Are they self-affirming? Are they love? Are they an expression of love, or are they a cry for love? So how often do we stop and reflect, why did I do that or say that, or why didn't I do that? I really wanted to. How often at the end of your day do you spend some time saying, why did I react that way? Why is this bugging me? Do you tune in and pay attention to your aches and your longings? Do you know what you really want? Do you know what you really love? Do you know how you feel at any point in time? Can you express how you feel? Can you connect with it? And if you're stuck in a feeling that you're not pleased with, Have you spent time considering what is the belief behind that feeling? And if you find you've got fear playing a game with you in your life, have you spent time considering what is the belief behind that fear? My friends, I tell you, there's just something very, very powerful and liberating, and I believe absolutely necessary to have spiritual hygiene, to turn the light within, and to tend to what's going on, what's really going on inside of me. Richard, would you give me that song? You know, the words, "Know thyself," were carved into stone above the entrance of Apollo's temple in Greece. Because to know yourself was to gain access to the inner treasure. To know thyself is the key to transcend the individual separate self and to come to know yourself as the luminous self, the divine self, the eternal self. I had a powerful lesson in this back in 2001. I entered the seminary in 2002, and I was 39 years old. I'm 58 today, so you don't have to stop and do the math. 2001, just a little bit before I went off to Lee Summit, I had ended a relationship, and I was in the process of selling a home. And I had a lot of joy around this new opportunity ahead, but I also had a lot of angst because I had done well for those 39 years and worked really hard, but I was going to be spending my savings now at 39 to go to seminary and kind of start over. And I wondered, you know, who am I to do this? And I was just having kind of a lot of doubt, and I was the last day of packing up some stuff in the house I was selling. And on that particular day, I was still finishing up, still working my current job at the time, and I was watching my time as I was packing because I had to stop at a certain point and be on a conference call for work. Well, again, this was 2001, and I happened to pick up the phone a little earlier and noticed the phone line was dead, and I thought, oh man, they've already disconnected the phone. I thought it was going to have phone service all day, but they had already disconnected it. I thought, well, no problem. I'll go get my cell phone. Now, back in 2001, it was one of those bag phones. Remember those? A big one. So I go to my car, and that thing, it was dead and wouldn't work. So now I'm thinking, all right, I've got about an hour before my call, but none of my phones are working at home. Well, I had been packing the last things, and I was in a closet. And so as I went back in that area, I just picked up one more thing to move it, and it was a jumbo package of toilet paper. And as I moved it over, something fell out, and I bent down and I picked it up, and I kid you not, it was a prepaid calling card for 60 minutes. A free calling card. Now here I was, I had no phone line in the house that was working, my cell phone was dead, and at that very moment, a prepaid 60-minute phone card fell out of a package of toilet paper. And I thought, wow. So I took the phone card and I just went down the street and made my call and came back and did what I needed to do. So the next morning I was in my new home with boxes everywhere, but I was sitting and having some quiet time. And I began to think about that miracle. And I was just saying, thank you, God, for that phone card at the right time. And it was as the universe said, Darlene, that wasn't a phone card. And in my mind, I thought, oh, yeah, it is. I've got it. I can show you. Darlene, that wasn't a phone card. And I'm sitting and I keep hearing, it wasn't a phone card. And all of a sudden, tears began to stream down my face. It was like I was transported back in time, and I saw a group of people having a conversation about what free gift would they put in their Charmin toilet paper. Oh, let's put a phone card. And then I saw the toilet paper being produced and packaged and delivered to the store. And then I saw myself going in that store many months before and buying it and putting it in my cabinet. And I saw myself packing my whole house but leaving those last items. And I saw all the trail of things that had to have happened for that to unfold at that moment. And for the phone line to have been dead and the cell phone to have been dead and all of those things to have happened for me to have a need and have it met right then. As I was hearing, was that just a phone card? And with tears flowing down my cheeks, I said, no. That was a love note from the universe. You see, when we bring a quality of presence to our inner life, we will find that what we are seeking is seeking us. When we bring a quality of presence to our inner life, we will realize that there are no boundaries between me and you or time and space. That whatever we needed can be provided at the time we need it, in the way that we need it for our soul's evolution. That's very important. But all of those things are conspiring, my friends, for your highest good. All of these things. I knew that day that it was, in fact, it wasn't just a prepaid calling card. It was a love note from the universe. And I never want to stop looking and noticing the love notes from the universe. And I never want to stop paying attention to anything in me that may be blocking that love. So how could anyone ever tell you that you are anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you that you are less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle, and how deeply you're connected to my soul? As we turn our awareness within, we realize that there are only words to try to describe an experience. And when we say that we turn our awareness within, what we really mean is that we shift our awareness. We realize that the things in the physical world, the things we can see and touch and smell and taste, are glorious and wonderful and are real. And yet behind all of these things is an idea that brought it into creation. And that behind all physical manifestation is an idea that brings it a seed, a pattern of possibility that brings it into expression, into manifestation. As I plumb the inner depths of my being, I come to discover the divine seed that I am. The divine idea that knows itself as me is the same divine idea that knows itself as all life, as all living creation. That this divine idea is an expression of God in human form. This divine idea is part of mind of God. This divine idea is never separate from the source, for it is source. And when I come to plumb the depths of my being and go beyond the boundaries of what I know myself to be, I am open to the infinite potentiality, the presence of love that is bigger than any condition. When I go within and explore that depth of my being, when I allow myself to rest in that presence, to feel and receive and accept the love notes and the love from the universe, when I have a love affair with the God of my being, with the creative force of life, when that love sustains me, I will be an embodiment of love that is a healing light. That's what it means to be enlightened, is to have your whole self, to know yourself as light and to know yourself as love. And to know yourself as light and love is to know all creation is light and love. And so may we dance in this place together. May we love in this place together. May we self-reflect beyond the labels, beyond the obstacles, beyond the senses. May we go deep enough to touch the taproot of love. So don't let anyone ever tell you that you are anything less than beautiful. Don't let anyone ever tell you that you are less than whole. Don't let anyone cause you to lose focus, because your loving is a miracle, and how deeply you're connected to my soul. Play whatever you feel, Richard. So don't let anyone ever tell you that you are anything less than beautiful. Don't let anyone ever tell you that you are less than whole. Don't let anyone shift your focus where you would ever fail to notice how deeply you're connected to my soul. The one soul, God, and that is love, my friend. This week, our invitation is self-reflection that leads to self-awareness, that leads to love. And I hope you'll join me in that. I want to thank you for joining, for dedicating some of your time today to be here with us. I also want to thank you for your continued support, your love, the letters. I know that we're holding prayer and supporting and sending that out, but it is so coming back, and I just appreciate the many people that are joining in from around the globe. You saw in the opening video, more and more people are sending us their picture with a sign saying, what is it they appreciate about this spiritual community, about unity? And some are also holding, if you're out of town, if you want to hold a sign and let us know where you're joining. We love to know that you're being a part of this. So I want you to know that your presence matters. As we send off today, we're going to go back in time. I think it's about 3 years ago now. Many of you were a part of our Love is Power Summit. And I found this song, and it just lifted my spirit. So we're going to send you off by a song with Rev Jack Bomar that we shared here at Unity with our Love in Power Summit. Have a wonderful week of self-reflection and of love. Thank you.
Come on. You got to hold the consciousness and the intention that it's going to change. I got a feeling everything is going to be all right. Oh, I've got a feeling everything is going to be all right. Why don't you tell your neighbor, it's going to be all right. It's all right. I've got a feeling everything is going to be all right. Be all right. Be all right. Be all right. Come on, help me out. I got a feeling everything's gonna be all right. Oh, I got a feeling everything's gonna be all right. Oh, I got a feeling everything's gonna be all right. Be all right. Spirit has confirmed it. Everything's gonna be all right. Oh, Spirit has confirmed it. Everything's gonna be all right. Oh, Spirit has confirmed it. Everything's gonna be all right. Be all right. Be all right. Be all right. All right, all right, be all right, 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 be all right, all right, all right, all right, all right, be all right, be all right.